Hello everyone, I was really excited to try out the Back 4 Blood beta last weekend and this one because, for those who don't know, this was one of my most anticipated games this year. I'm a huge World War Z fan, but I've played that game to death, and I have been desperate for more content similar to it. I have played a bit of Left 4 Dead as well, although it's been a while, so I just wanted to very quickly go over my thoughts on the Back 4 Blood beta and to see if it's a game everyone should be paying attention to. If you do enjoy the video, be sure to hit the like button and subscribe for more gaming news, reviews, and discussions. With that said, let's get into it. For starters, we got access to both game modes, and for the PvE section we were able to play through one act, which had 8 levels. It's the first act, so some of the levels were pretty short, especially early on, but some of the later levels were a bit longer. But it really depends on what difficulty you play on, as going from the easiest to medium difficulty is a huge jump and can greatly extend the length of a level. The first thing I noticed was the gunplay was extremely well done. The controls felt very responsive, and even with the lag, hit detection was almost perfect. Weapons have very little recoil, but that makes sense for an arcade style game like this, and headshots on zombies just feel so satisfying. Melee felt pretty good too, which is surprising considering how difficult it can be to make melee combat feel proper in first person. And since Turtle Rock Studios consist of Left 4 Dead developers, it does look and feel just like it, but modernized. The levels feel similar where you work your way through mostly linear areas with some open areas that will have special objectives. The special zombies are basically the same as in all other games of this style. You have the giant bruiser that will smash you if you get too close, the wretch that will both spit acid at you and explode shooting out poison, and the snitch that will alert other zombies to it. There's a really great selection of guns too, and outside of a few of them, the sound design is very well done. We got 5 characters to choose from, although there will be more at launch. Each character has a bonus specific stat like increased ammo capacity or healing, stuff like that. I have very mixed feelings on the progression system, although it did start to grow on me after the second beta weekend. Basically, it's centered around building decks of cards, and those cards give you stat bonuses. You start off with a very basic deck, but as you progress, you can unlock cards that will allow you to build a character the way you want. For instance, if you want to focus on melee, there's a card that allows you to do a charge up attack and ones that will increase your health so you can be more tanky. On the other side, you can build up a character that focuses on guns or healing. The deck system essentially works like a skill tree, except you build up in power as you gain access to more cards as you progress through the levels. You get to choose one card that you always start off with, but after that you get to select one new card out of 5 from your deck at the start of each level, and you can set the order in which the cards are drawn. I would have very much preferred a level-based system with classes that had their own abilities and skill trees that you could customize. The system to unlock cards was also mixed in with stuff like sprays and skins, which made the progression feel a little padded out. For me personally, it just wasn't very satisfying, and for games like this, especially moving to harder difficulties, building up your character is one of the most fun aspects. But that being said, one of my friends absolutely loved this system. So like with everything, everyone has their own personal preferences as to what types of systems they like for progression in different types of games. In between missions, there's a hub area that you can queue up for matches in, set your deck, and buy new cards. If you do have a group, you can also hang out with them there, and there's a firing range where you can test out basically every weapon and attachment, and there are NPCs, but I am wondering if they're tied to the story. There wasn't any cutscenes in what we got to play in the beta, so I'm not sure if there will be in the main game. I would assume so, and maybe there's some story that builds up showing where this, hub area comes from. Level design felt okay. There were a few decent ones, but overall it was pretty basic and nothing we haven't seen before. The one thing that can give a unique feel to levels are the randomized challenge cards. There's ones that can range from giving you bonuses if you don't disturb birds, which can cause hordes to spawn if you do, to covering a level in a very thick fog, making certain enemies stronger, or even making the level pitch black and difficult to see in. Gameplay aspects like this can give the game a sense of replayability, which is so important in a game like this because you're going to be replaying each level multiple times. I don't want to judge the level design too harshly because it was the first act, so I imagine it would be the most tame compared to, the later levels. But some levels felt way too short, and some had no bosses or even hordes to fight. That said, the ones that did have those were a lot more fun, and I hope the later levels have more bosses and horde fights because that's what makes this style of game so much fun and addicting. There also weren't really any puzzles to solve, which was something I liked in World War Z. Granted, World War Z's puzzles were really simplistic, but it gave, some variety to the gameplay and kind of made it feel fresh. You weren't just going through the levels, defeating zombies. But like I said, Back 4 Blood does have a few objectives. They were basically just destroy something and defend a point for a few minutes. But the one boss fight that we did get to try out was pretty fun. I actually thought it made the level a lot more exciting, so I hope there is more of that in the other acts. I did notice a few copy-pasted buildings and designs, which is a little alarming considering how small some of the maps were. This made them feel very generic and ruined some of the exploration. Speaking of that, like in World War Z, you can search each level to find extra ammo, guns, and coins to buy new weapons with. The weapon system works exactly like in Apex Legends, where you find better and more rare guns and attachments as you get further in. However, as far as I can tell, when you switch weapons you lose all the attachments, even if you're switching to a more rare version of the gun you're currently using, and you get to keep your weapons from level to level unlike in World War Z. At the start of each level you can use the coins to upgrade a few things like grenade capacity or stamina that affects your entire group, or you can buy extra ammo and weapons. This system worked fine within the context of the game, but did mean some runs were considerably easier than others depending on how lucky I was with what I found for weapons. I will have to say, once I moved to the harder difficulty, I gained a better appreciation for the game. It's a huge jump in difficulty, which I personally love, and you have to play the game in a very different manner. You really do need to move as a group and work together, especially in certain situations. Like most co-op games, people who have groups of friends to play with will have a significantly better experience. My friends and I found that with the limited ammo, we needed to make sure we were all using different weapons, or else there really wasn't enough ammo to go around. And there were certain objectives that we needed to coordinate for to get past. The one thing that bugged me was the AI director. It basically determines if you're going through the content too easily. If that's the case, it will add in additional challenge cards as you progress through a level. I think it's an interesting gameplay choice, but it absolutely needs some tweaking. I don't think we were doing particularly well, and for whatever reason on the last level it decided to bombard us with extra challenge cards to the point where the game became almost impossible and we ended up dying. I think this would be best for a separate game mode because I do enjoy a challenge, but there really should be just a standard easy, medium, and hard, and then the AI director mode for additional rewards or something like that. This would ensure people will all receive the same level of challenge, and those who really want to push themselves can do so. Joining random groups was a pretty miserable experience. I commonly ran into people who refused to go into safe rooms so you couldn't finish the level, and the kick player option was not working. So basically you'd lose your progress because someone felt like ruining everyone else's time. Also, there's friendly fire, so teammates can be more dangerous than zombies if you're playing with someone who's trigger happy. And when you do quick play, you can get dropped into a match that's several levels in, but you don't get to choose your character, and you're stuck with the starter weapons. Which means unless you can find a gun immediately, which I usually couldn't find any, you are basically useless to the group. Obviously they have time to fix these issues, but playing in a group with friends will make it so you don't have to deal with any of that. I didn't spend too much time with the PvP swarm mode, as I play these types of games for the PvE content. Basically you go back and forth playing as cleaners or zombies, and whoever wins the best of 3 rounds wins. When you're playing as zombies, you can choose special zombie types to control. There's all the standard ones like Exploding One, the one that spits acid, basically the same ones as we've seen in Left 4 Dead and World War Z. It's a fine game mode, but it's the type of thing I'd play once then never touch again. The maps were way too small, and there's some serious balancing issues that need to be resolved before the game releases. I did run into some bugs and technical issues, although the game isn't releasing for another 2 months, so that's to be expected. One level I played, a bot teammate didn't feel like going into a safe room, so we couldn't finish the level and I had to quit and lose all of my progress. I really hope they fix that one. But it was less buggy than I thought it would be, and they should have enough time to fix almost everything before it releases. There are only 2 game modes. I would have preferred to have at least one more, like a horde mode where you defend a spot and see how many waves you can survive. Actually, I would have preferred more horde defense moments in general in the PvE section, as there really was only one big one and then several smaller ones. Again, I don't really want to judge the game yet. I didn't get to play everything, so maybe the other levels we didn't get to play are amazing. There just wasn't anything that wowed me, or any tense, fun moments like I've seen in similar games. But like I said, moving to the harder difficulty did give me a greater appreciation for the game, and late game decks could be game changing. But I do have several concerns. There's multiple special editions, the issue of having to pre-order to get into the closed betas, and having to buy an extra expensive edition to play the game on release day, so some alarm bells are ringing. We still don't know how many acts there will be in the game at launch, so I'm worried about how much content we will have as well. And while I don't think they've said anything about adding in microtransactions, they easily could be added in with a card system in place. Given WB is publishing the game, that is a real concern, and I hope they don't go down that road. There's plenty of competition with multiple other games of this style coming out over the next few months also. And World War Z is getting a new expansion, and while that game does have its own set of issues, I do think it's a lot more fun to play. But I do prefer third person to first person, so I might be a little biased in that regard, but again, I do feel like the level design is just so much better in World War Z. I would give this advice for any game, but especially for Back 4 Blood, I would not pre-order it, and I would wait to see reviews first before buying it. I will be doing a review, but even if you don't watch mine, watch someone else's first, because I'm worried it might be the type of game that might take multiple patches and content updates before it feels complete. We'll have to see when it launches in 2 months if they can maybe fix some issues, and like I said, I only played the first act and the other ones could be significantly better. Like I said earlier, the gameplay is very strong, the gunplay felt really great, so they have everything there to make a really great game. I really enjoy this style of game, so I really do hope that Back 4 Blood is amazing when it comes out. Anyways, if you enjoyed the video, be sure to hit the like button and subscribe. Thanks so much for watching, see you all in the next video.